In this video, I want to take a look at the basic for loop. So let me go ahead and just start a new file here. We'll call this for loop.php. And obviously we'll start off the PHP code block and we'll get ready to insert the code here. Now before I do that, I'm just going to go back to the if statement here. And I was very particular about the way I said this. I said, if something is true, do something. Very deliberate, and I'm very deliberate for a reason. Students do remember that. And I do a similar thing for the for loop. It starts off with for something to be true, do something. Split open the curly braces and then go into those round brackets to set up our conditions. Now in these round brackets, there are three pieces of information we need. We are going to loop through, and inside the curly braces, we're going to execute whatever code is in here. But we need to loop through a certain number of times. And the first thing we set up is our incrementer. So we've just done that. I'm going to start at 1. So I starts at 1. We then put a semicolon, and then we have the second bit of information. Now this second bit of information is telling, well, how many times are we going to go through the loop? When do we stop? Well, we keep going while I is less than or equal to, I'm going to put a value in here of 10. So keep going while I is less than or equal to 10, semicolon. And the third bit of information is to say, well, how much do you want to increase I by each time through the loop? Well, it's usually 1, but it could be 2, 3, 10, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to increase it by 1 each time, so I plus plus. Inside my curly braces, I'm going to keep things fairly simple. All I'm going to do is to echo out the value of I, and then I'm going to concatenate on a break tag. I will go across to the browser, go into the loops folder. We have the for loop, click on there, and there we get the numbers 1 to 10, and that's what we expected. We started off with I being 1. We increased by 1. We kept going until we got to 10. And each time through that loop, we were just echoing out that value of I. So we get the numbers 1 to 10. Now, if you want to pause the video here, you can. And what I would like you to do is to do another loop. But this time I want you to start at 2 and go all the way to 20. But I just want the even numbers. So 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. So from 2 to 20. Feel free to pause the video, have a go, come back in a few seconds, and then I'll show you what to do. Okay, here we go. Let's go through this. Now I could copy and paste these 3 lines of code below, but I think it's important just to go through this again. So for something to be true, do something, split out my curly braces, go inside my round brackets, start off with my incrementer, and it's starting off at 2. The second bit of information is I is going to be less than or equal to 20. And then the third bit is, well, we're increasing I by 2 each time. So plus equals 2. And then inside here, I'll just copy this and just paste that in there. So we're going to echo out the value of I each time. So if I go across the browser and refresh, I should get the numbers 1 to 10, and then I'll get the even numbers 2 to 20. Across to the browser, refresh, then we get 1 to 10, and then 2 to 20. Now I just want to point out something really important here, because it is possible to set up something called an infinite loop. And the infinite loop means it's going to keep going and going and going through that loop, and it'll keep echoing out a value of I, whatever that is. And the reason, or the main reason for most of these, is in this second part here. This is the condition that's going to eventually tell it to stop. So if I take out this less than symbol here, what we're going to say is, well, I is equal to 2, and then I is equal to 20, and then I is plus equals 2, and then keep echoing I. Here we are going to get an infinite loop. We're going to get an infinite loop whereby I is always going to be equal to 20. So if you're not sure what's happening here, we're setting an initial value of I equals 2. Then we're saying, well, I is now equal to 20, so we're resetting that value. We're going through and we're echoing I. We're increasing by 2, so I is 22. But then we're setting I back to 2 again. And then we're setting I equal to 20 again. And then we're echoing out 20 again. So we'll get an infinite loop of 20s. So if I go across the browser and show you that and refresh, you can see here we've got 2020. And if we look here, this browser is still working and still working. That'll keep going. So I'm going to stop that infinite loop. I'm going to go back here. I'm just going to fix that while I remember. So that's something that you need to be really careful of. Do not set up an infinite loop. So when do we typically use loops? Well, probably the best example I can give you is in database use. We would go to a database, we would interrogate it, we would get some records back, and then we'd want to iterate through those records and maybe print them to the screen. Now in those particular cases, we tend to use while loops or for each loops. So if you're hoping to go on and use some databases in the future, those are the loops that you will probably be working with. If you found this video useful, then remember to give me a quick thumbs up. And if you would like to be notified when I release new videos, then hit that subscribe button and remember to click on the little notification bell.